Bub.
No. We're not doing that today. It was gluten free. Yeah, no buns.
We didn't get exposed the way we did today, and I will embrace this butt kicking. I've had my butt kicked before, and I'll probably have my butt kicked again.
Hey, it's me, your buddy Ben.
Today's episode is brought to you by the premier app for discreetly meeting local skaters in your area, Grindr. Are you a skateboarder looking to connect with other skaters nearby? Then check out Grindr, the app that helps you discreetly meet fellow skaters. Whether you're searching for a truck stop, rest stop, or a back alley to perfect your tricks, Grindr helps you find the perfect spot to meet up with like-minded skaters, single skaters, jacked skaters, down for whatever skaters, you name it. And let me tell you, this app is legit. Just ask my girlfriend. Now she's totally on board and has agreed not to ask me about it anymore. I'm connecting with skaters all over the place. So pull out your skateboard, whether it's in your garage, attic, or buried deeply in your closet. Download Grindr today. Start connecting with your local skate community, because sometimes the best rides are the ones you share.
Perfect. And honestly, I thought we went to the back door way too many times. Like, I feel like I should, on that type of offense.
Can you go to the back door too much?
You certainly can, depending on, a variety of circumstances, actually.
Experience, mostly. Yeah.
Preparation, before.
Yeah, the preparation ritual to go to the back door is significant.
48-hour notice is what I've.
Yeah, that's what I tell my wife.
Love to blow that 10 into 15 into 20 and really feel comfortable watching it.
Like the what?
What?
You'd like the what?
Blow that 10-point lead into a 15 lead or a 20-point lead. But
you man.
But
what do you think? Are you blowing 10s or?
If I'm lucky, yeah.
It's been a rough season. The playbook didn't click, the boosters are restless, and the buyout is looming. When it's time to regroup or quietly ride off into the sunset, Jeff Ruby's Steakhouse is here for you.
Another one.
It's the Catechin. Sorry, the technical difficulties there. Video cut out. Took me a second to figure out how to make it go full screen. Whatever. Fellas, how we feeling?
good. Portal's fun. Portal has been fun. Some people aren't built for it. Some people are stressed, but there's a lot of names, a lot of faces to follow and figure out where they're going. Are they a fit? Are they someone we want? And it's just been fun to follow.
Yeah. I think we're sitting here with as many players as we had on the roster last year, looking for like the next dude. But yeah, it's been nice to just not really know who we're going after too. I think we have a tendency as a fan base to overcommit to the idea of somebody if our name is somehow linked to them, but now it's like so linked that we can't whiff, which is an imaginary thing, I think. So yeah, I feel good. I like where the roster's at right now already. I think bolster the backcourt a little bit, and we're cooking with grease.
I got no problem playing the field. That's what we're doing right now. We're single. We don't need no man. Just to pick our spot. So, I will say it's slowed down to a crawl at this point where it just seems like we're flirting with a bunch of them and not wanting to settle down yet. And it's slowed down so much that I've had to start paying attention to my family again. So I do resent that fact. I would like to just be buried deep into the Discord. But it seems that the best days of this portal season might be behind us, which is a real shame. But hey, we got 1-2 more maybe. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, and after this, we have really nothing to look forward to until we get what La Familia practice videos,
Hell yeah. And you know what the
scrimmages.
categories we cover in that. Let's go.
Yeah. Well, and then we probably have some summer recruiting stuff to look into as well. But yeah, after we fill in these last couple spots, I know people are anxious to do that, but man, it really will slow down a little bit.
These are the good old days, you know. Let's enjoy them.
Yeah, we'll probably also start to get a better idea. I'm not sure what kind of content will come out, but to see where people are going to fit exactly. Um, I think that there is right now we have 4 dudes at the 1-2 that we have 3. We have 4 dudes at the 1-2. With Travis Perry, Lowe, CC, and JJ. And then you're trying to figure out, like, okay, are they thinking who's going to be the backup point guard? We're going to have some 1.5s. What's going on? I think that we'll probably get a better idea, especially with the last roster ad. We'll probably have a better idea of what they're thinking. I'm not sure, but it'll be interesting. I think that the front court is pretty hammered out, and even that 3 position with Cam and Owe.
I think we have a lot of point fives, and I think that's good. I think that's I know I said this before, but I think it's good for foul trouble or injuries or matchup considerations. And I think that when you get a bunch of guys that are all 6'5" to 6'7", they can really float anywhere 2, 3, 4, maybe 1, even if they're good at handling the ball. And so seems like that's what we're trying to build. And I think that versatility is great.
So do we
Yeah.
want to just go over who we are in with, and we can just sort of pick and choose, you know, who we'd like to go for, where we think they fit in, stuff like that, who we would want, because I got some opinions, fellas.
Let's hear them.
Okay, so just to go over who we're after, it's we got Dame Sarr. We got who's the point guard kid who I'm blanking on the name right now. Is he even a point guard, or is he? I think he was like in a lower conference where we've kind of been flirting with him.
There's a few. There was Kamani Hamilton, who was at High Point, who
Okay.
I have no idea how
I'm out.
in with him we are at all. I've seen one thing linking us to him and nothing. I think we have a lot of guys that would probably be primarily a starting 2,
Okay.
but hopefully better ball handlers and could maybe help in that backup 1 spot too.
I'm completely blanking
Um,
on his name. I think he was a lower conference guy, maybe at the 2 guard spot. But
there's the list I had was Dame
yes, please, you're the
Sarr,
list keeper, please.
Rylan Griffin from previously Alabama, then Kansas, Jameer Watkins from Florida
That's
State,
it.
who we were in on a little bit last year.
That's what I was thinking of. Not a low conference. Well, ACC, a low conference for me.
Just saw something a little bit ago about Denzel Aberdeen from Florida. Briefly mentioned with Rodney Rice from Maryland. Stojakovic out of Cal.
Oh yes.
Not sure how in on him we are. Saw one article that mentioned us in like the number 2 position behind Illinois, and in the write up it just said was involved last cycle. So I don't know if we've reached out. Chad Baker Mazzara out of Auburn. Again, don't know how seriously we're taking that. Zayden Clever out of St. John didn't play a ton this year. Rick didn't like playing freshman a ton, and he I think just got buried. And not quite a transfer, but we had Braden Hawthorne, West Virginia decommit on campus last week. I think he'd be maybe more of a developmental piece, but really interesting kid to me.
If I had to pick 2, give me Sarr, give me Hawthorne. I think Hawthorne is getting underrated. I know he's skinny, but I love the build, love the way he plays. The ceiling on that kid, unbelievable. And the idea of playing Sarr and Hawthorne and Cam Williams and JQ all on the court together, the switchability and the defense that they'd be able to have is unbelievable. That's the two that I want.
Hawthorne looks just rail thin. I mean, he's like 6'8", weighs less than I do.
My
Or
time.
I think now 6'9" he's listed at. But he's also not appreciably thinner than Nate Ament. I mean, his legs look a little thinner, but listed weights are within 10 pounds, same height. Looks like he moves well. Listed as a shooting guard. I think he had a growth spurt. I think that'd be a lot of fun. His other option is Virginia Tech, so it kind of comes down to, do you want to? They can probably offer him a starting role, and that's tough to turn down when you look at our roster and see maybe where he'll slot in. But if he bets on himself and is fine taking a back seat, that would be awesome.
Especially if he sees himself as a 3, because it's like always going to go to the league the next year, ideally, right? And then you have like a Cam Hawthorne 3, just incredible length. We could work on the girth.
Yeah.
But that's just eating, We can all do that. And it's also just stop growing up and you can grow out a little bit. I think that he's still going up, and that might be why it might be just impossible to put weight on while you're still putting an inch on every 6 months or whatever. So I like Hawthorne a lot too. I think that he has some like really good movement, and then the fact that he's not scared of contact, even though he's so skinny, is very nice, because that's a lot of it's mental. I mean, look at the NBA; you got a bunch of skinny dudes.
Yeah,
but Sarr, I think. Here's my problem with Sarr. Sarr is take. I think that he's going to be incredible wherever he goes. He might not be. He might be one of those is a better pro than ends up being his only year in college type person. But I also think that he would occupy the same exact space as Jasper. And I like the idea of Jasper starting at the 2. I think that having a freshman come in, and he's looked so good in these All-Star games, and his shot is so pretty. I just want to see what that looks like and how that affects our high school recruiting going forward. If we have a freshman starter.
Agree. I think that one of the things that kind of hurt, I mean, if you look, we have the number 2 composite class between transfers and freshmen without even considering Yelovic. But I think one of the things that may be used negatively against Pope is like, hey, his freshman last year didn't get a ton of play other than when there were injuries and they were kind of forced to. And it wasn't the elite talent that maybe you're accustomed to seeing. And so I think it'd maybe go a long way to have Jasper show out. And I think he could. If you watch the Jordan Brand Classic, he had some really, really nice dunks, some nice assists, some lobs, some step back threes, some transition threes. And he was on a team with Darius Acuff, who wasn't interested at all in passing the ball. But he played point a little bit too, and looked like he could handle that. So I think getting Jasper a lot of minutes and FaceTime would be huge. I also just think that we're in a position to do that more this year with the freshmen we have coming in. No shade at TP and Trent Noah and Colin Chandler, but
and I'm not one to panic. I'm not one to panic over the idea of starting a freshman 5-star guard immediately. We did that for 15 years, so it shouldn't be too out of the norm for us. If anything, I think last year might be more of an aberration than what we have seen in the past and what we'll probably see going forward. Wouldn't be surprised if we get at least 1 5-star guy mixed with returners and the best the portal has to offer for what we try to do. So
yeah,
and this is the ideal mix that we wanted when we hired him, really.
Yeah. that's why this last piece that, like, other than Hawthorne, because I think Hawthorne doesn't really fit into this, like, 1-2 mix. I would like somebody who could either be the starting two if Jasper's not ready, or be the backup point guard. Because I think our backup point guard is going to still be like a at least 18 minutes a game type person. That's just how it goes. And then we lost point guards like crazy last year. It killed us. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
somebody that can handle the ball.
I think having a lot of potential ball handlers is significant. I can't imagine Pope deciding to go forward without backup and I again, no shade thrown at TP, but I don't think Pope wants TP to be playing significant minutes at point guard again. Um, I see Lando says Aberdeen over everyone, and when I look at Aberdeen, kind of the easiest comparisons on the list are the other guys that played high major ball last year, and you can kind of pull up their stats and look at them next to each other. And he and Stojakovic and Jameer Watkins are all incredibly close in sort of how they graded out. And Rylan Griffin is lower last year, but also higher when he was at Alabama. So they're all four of those are like kind of similar in terms of how they affect the game. A lot of people think Stojakovic is a great shooter. I mean, probably because of his dad, but
Yeah.
he was actually the lowest shooting of any of them, at like 32%. He sort of like a couple other guys did a lot for his team, but Aberdeen is the highest of any of them in terms of 3-point shooting percent. Took a ton of shots from three. Volume kind of similar to Ansley Almanor, though a couple of percentage points lower on the makes. But I think he adds a lot defensively too. I think that'd be a great add. I think he can play combo guard, kind of help provide another maybe backup guy at the one. In addition
And he's
to
He stepped up as a point guard, starting point guard when Clayton was out for a little bit, in the middle of the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, he's already gone through the grind of an SEC schedule, just like Mo D has. I think that's a huge plus with someone who has familiarity with the rest of the conference. I don't know if the conference is going to be as good next year, but
hopefully not.
it'd be
certainly
cool.
won't hurt.
I'd say it'd be cool if it wasn't, but it was kind of fun. I mean, I took pride in the fact that our strength of schedule was great. The teams we played against were tough. It meant something to win those games. I think it did help prepare us for. I mean, there's some talk about like, well, the fouls are called differently. You can't be as physical in the tournament. That screws teams, whatever. But at least I knew that we'd gone up against talent, both offensively and defensively.
Definitely. Do we want to talk some Rylan Griffin?
I think
Yeah.
I think that he has a higher ceiling than he had at Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think. I think that he would be a backup too. Did he have much time at point?
No, I think he definitely would be a 2 for you.
So it's like him versus JJ, right?
Though,
I don't know.
if you,
I think taking Griffin means you're putting Jasper at the backup one, probably.
right. I think if you take Aberdeen, you probably split the roles of backup one, starting two, and backup two 3 ways between Chandler, Jasper, and Aberdeen. Probably pretty evenly, unless someone just shows out and proves they need more minutes there. But I think if you take Griffin, he's like firmly at the 2, and that does push Jasper more to backup point, which is fine. I mean, not fine. I think he assists really well, decent ball handler. Hasn't gone up against the kind of defenses that he'll see in the SEC, but also I think we got pressed on like 2.5% of our offensive possessions last year. So it's not like you're getting pressed every time down the court.
Plus, I mean, this whole talk of, and I know old habits die hard, of talking like, well, this guy is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Basketball, it's become fluid. It's a spectrum now. Really, it's just ball handlers or wings and bigs. So if Griffin's a good enough ball handler, like we know how the offense runs. It's primarily going to run through the big anyway. We don't really need a big ball dominant guard.
We just need them
John Calipari
to
ball.
get the ball across half court without getting a 10-second violation.
Right, which is for some reason proven difficult for us.
Yeah. I think that we just had a weakness that people could exploit. And they did, which was
Definitely
rough.
And I know we've said this before, but look at any team pull up their depth chart. Find any team that would have been in good shape if they were relying on their fourth option at point. I mean, that's not a good place to find yourself in, and we had to deal with that for a huge portion of the season.
Found something fun on Griffin the other day, and I'll share it out here. I feel like I'm at work saying something like that. One sec. Now I do feel like I'm at work saying 1 sec. Let me share this out. Browser blocked my screen. Oh no.
You're sharing the wrong screen.
You're muted. Come on. Where are you?
I'm not a cat.
There it is. Let's go, baby. Matt Sack coming through. He says, y'all see the same player comp I do. I sure see it and thought I'd share it here. Look at us sharing clips. Look at this. And look at this step back here. Now tell me that don't look like Jackson Robinson.
Yeah, no, I see it.
So
I see it. I think Rylan Griffin would be good, and Lando, good point in chat. Griffin was a starter on a Final Four Alabama team, a team that plays pretty similar to us, rim and three, analytical coach. But so's Aberdeen. I mean, he wasn't a starter, but he played almost half of the minutes last season, 48% or something, on the national championship Florida team with analytic freak Todd Golden. So I think either of them have great SEC experience, big roles on really successful, tough teams that at least stylistically are kind of similar to what Pope wants to do.
I do think I like the defensive profile of Aberdeen a little bit better, and I like the spectrum. I like the transpositional spectrum of Aberdeen a little bit better than Griffin. Being able to kind of fill the gap that I feel like we are filling gaps where we're hoping we have a little bit of hope in freshmen or JQ coming off injury, right? So it's like being able to have the warm fuzzies with position because we have some 4.5s or whatever. We are making these moves to fill these transitional gaps between positions. I would like to, I don't know. Watkins to me is a ball hawk, and I think that I'm a big steals guy. I think steals to me, just dumb math, a steal is worth like a 4-point swing a lot of times because it ends a possession and it usually ends in a fast break.
Yep.
That is a pretty high percentage. So a steal is good, and Watkins is particularly good at steals. But Aberdeen has everybody else plays better defense when Aberdeen is playing. That's what the analytics show, which just means that he's not getting picked on, right? Like the team isn't weaker because he's on the court. I think Griffin is in that same realm, just not quite as high.
The other thing with Griffin is it's kind of tough to get a feel of what he's going to be. I mean, I tend to think he's going to be more Alabama Rylan Griffin than he is Kansas Rylan Griffin, which is good because, frankly, there's huge, tremendous drop off in everything. His 3-point shooting went down. His
free throws went down.
He was worse at the rim. His free throw shooting went down. He assisted less. He turned the ball over about the same, I guess. But I mean, but like his rebounds went down across the board. He was worse under Bill Self, and so you got to hope that you get Alabama Rylan Griffin. But sort of like you said, Caleb, if we're already hoping that JQ comes back from injury, and we're hoping that Lowe regresses to his freshman year and not his sophomore year in a better system, and we're hoping that Cam translates up, and I think that one's maybe the easiest of these because I don't think Conference USA I don't think the American's a bad conference, but and we're hoping that the freshmen pan out. Like, while we have all these
Yeah.
hopes, I think that
And we're
adding
hoping
another
that Mo gets better on more volume.
yeah,
as well.
right. But as we have all these hopes, I think that not hoping that you get Alabama Rylan Griffin is good.
Yeah.
But also, I tend to think we would. I mean, like I said,
Yeah.
I think stylistically,
Right.
he'd benefit in that. But
I like
I don't have a hope for Aberdeen. I mean, I was happy with what
that
he was.
Aberdeen would, because to me it seems like Aberdeen is probably chasing a bag, right? Like, it's probably pretty simple.
Sure.
Florida probably thought they had him locked in at a price. He's seeing the news of all these people getting more bags, and he's like, all right, I'm not going to mess around with this. If you're not going to just pay me, then I'm going to go find it. Which is
Wouldn't
a
be
very
shocked if he
simple
ended up right
transaction.
back in Gainesville next
Right.
season.
Yeah,
So-
possible. So it's the same kind of with Chad Baker Mazzara if he didn't turn too many people off with his
I think that's what definitely is going on
antics.
there.
Right. So
Yeah,
but to me, it's the 1-2 position transferability that sticks out for him. I think Watkins gives you that defensive ceiling raiser with the steals. I think Rylan Griffin is he's still good. He's still a good guard. I just like the idea of opening up more opportunities for JJ if we get an Aberdeen, right?
yeah,
I don't think he
I
walks
agree
away
with that.
We got a big
Sort of the
all-knower bomb in the chat here. Kansas horrible fit for Griffin. Too bigs clogging up the lane. A bad point guard. Only averaged 75 points per game. Slow pace. Have a great year in Pope's system. I think we're in absolute agreement there. I mean, when do we start having the conversation of is Bill self-washed?
That's true.
Because I think he's got one more year because you can't blame Hunter Dickinson anymore.
I think
And
that
this is 2 years in a row
selfish
where
ball.
Kansas has not been it.
Yeah.
Well, and Hunter Dickinson's going to be commentating, and he's sure as hell not going to blame himself. So he'll start the Is Bill Self-Wash campaign for us.
Yeah.
One of the other things I was going to say is I really liked Jameer Watkins back last year before we knew that Jackson was going to pull out of the draft. Jameer Watkins was one of the other guys testing the draft waters, and I really wanted him on the chance that Robinson stayed in. He was one of my top picks to also take that role. So I like him a ton. But both Stojakovic and Watkins are really high usage guys. They're a focal point of their team. And we have a couple of those already coming in. Jalen Lowe was a big usage guy. Diabate was not as much, but getting up there above 20%. OA was big for us. Cam Williams is super low usage, which I think is helpful in terms of team cohesion. But both Watkins and Stojakovic Watkins is above 30%, Stojakovic is at 27, and Aberdeen brings that down a little bit. And so I think that's helpful, given the pieces we have. Rylan Griffin also pretty low there. So I tend to think those two pieces fit together better. But Watkins is incredibly talented, maybe the best defender of any of these guys, probably the best passer of any of them. Even though you don't think of him as like filling in the one as well. I think he does have the highest assist rate. So I don't think there's a bad option here. I think that's the beautiful part of how Mark Pope approaches the portal. And it results in a million people saying, hey, look at all these Mark Pope whiffs, but also you've got a bunch of these schools and their fans sitting there saying, God, who are we looking at? What's our next step? And we have almost the opposite problem of we can't narrow it down. We have a bunch of guys and we like them all. And the good thing is I trust Pope to figure out how to get one of them that he likes and figure out their fit.
We got a lot of flexibility in the way that we have approached this, where it's like we need a type of guy. we're gonna go look at all the types of guys.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's like then you meet them, you have
Mhm.
your Zoom calls or you have your airplane ride visits or whatever, and you decide. Then that's when the basketball coach part kind of leaves, and it's like a assignment understanding evaluation. What do you think about the front of the jersey versus the back of the jersey, that kind of stuff? Or it's like just straight up be honest. Are you just trying to make 500 more grand because you're not going to be a pro? You might as well, right? Like hell, I would too.
Yep.
Um,
And honestly, casting a super wide net, I think, is really helpful with that because it gives you the ability to say, all right, there are 3 of you who are all going to fill the same role. We'll say, yeah, and I like all of you equally. I mean,
right,
whether that's true or not, but again, I think that's having a coach that's
right.
able to match their personnel with their scheme. It lets you say, hey, any of you would be great here. There are 3 of you, fight for it.
Yeah,
Commit
here's the bag.
first,
Here's the
whatever.
roll.
Um,
First
and
one.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
The way I see it, and maybe I'm just a little bit out on the Florida State kid. Maybe I'm just a little bit out on Watkins. But the way I'd order it is Sar, but we think Sar's going to the league. Probably Aberdeen, then Griffin. I think you probably give it till midweek. Whoever takes it first. I just ride from there.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah. We haven't mentioned we have Griffin coming for a visit on Tuesday.
Yep.
So pretty soon, you'd expect maybe this week to hear something. Um,
Lando has a good point.
Let's pull it up.
Common
okay.
Lando dub.
I don't know if this was said, but casting a wide net makes it to where coaches can't see who you're zeroing it on. Ball no Orlando. A great point. Eddie says we need to catch and shoot guys because we already got 3 high usage dudes in JJ, Owe, and Low. Only 1 ball after all.
You know who's a good catch and shoot?
Maybe.
Aberdeen.
Which
And
I think,
Griffin, I think, as well. I
yeah,
think they're
right.
both good catch and shoot guys, but I don't think Aberdeen was asked to do much catch and shoot. I think a lot of his highlight stuff was catch and shoot, but it didn't look like most of his volume came off that.
I think he's 70 something percentile there
Yeah.
in his catch and shoot shots, which is pretty good. Yeah, it's not Wilkerson, who was excellent across the board in his shooting stats, but also I think Aberdeen gives you just a lot more in other places.
Wilkerson wasn't a
And
take.
yeah, right.
Yeah, that's true.
But
Yeah,
I
we recruited over him simply.
recruited over. And I think
I
that's a good
wouldn't limit it.
example.
I wouldn't
I
limit
think
it to
that's a good
just a catch and shoot
Go
guy.
ahead.
I mean, I'd settle for a guy who just can shoot. Like if you can do other stuff, I think that's a massive plus. So
The running off screens and like I think that both Griffin and Aberdeen are both long guards. I think Aberdeen's probably got more point guard to him.
For sure.
But to occupy space there in the backcourt is important. We saw that last year. Decent shooters. I think either one of them is a take. Yeah, it's probably whichever one. I just like the idea of Aberdeen taking a more is fungible the right word?
yes,
Probably roll where it's the 1.1 to 1.9. Where are you? We want to be able to move people around a little bit as we evaluate the unknowns, and we know that you can play point. We know that you can play the 2. I like that a lot. I like the versatility there.
Well, and I think that Cam Williams is another guy that you had people putting him on the depth chart at the 4 because he's 6'8", but I think in an interview he said he intends to play mostly 2 and 3. He moves well. He can shoot. I don't know how his ball handling is, but he cuts very
Not
well,
great.
which is going to be fantastic for us. Shoots at 40%. Yeah. Joe is right. I think he said he'll play too, and he's 6'8".
Yeah.
This
I
this
think he plays
this
a 3.5, right? Like in my head, I see him as a 3.5.
sure.
And then Owe is like a 2.5. But that it's probably one of them two on the court. It's kind of how I see it. But
Do you guys remember when Zakai Ziegler had to guard Jackson Robinson during the Tennessee game in Knoxville? Could you? I almost wish Zakai could come back so we could see him get switched on to Cam
That's
Williams.
the fifth year rule.
Yeah, bring him back.
Do you remember? I remember when Jackson Robinson was guarding Zakai Ziegler and just draped his long arms. I mean, what do you do if you're 5'9" and Jackson had just incredibly long arms anyway? But
mhm.
I think that positional versatility is what's going to make this team fun. Everybody's an athlete. That's something we lacked. I think that'll help us with our. I know we talked over the season a ton about our lack of non-steal turnovers. I think this will help with that. You've got better defenders, more athletic defenders and rebounders, easier to stay in front of your guy. I think that's going to be huge. One thing that I think will be interesting is that people lost their minds with Pope substitutions a little bit last year. They were incredibly often trying to keep guys at their peak efficiency, being able to monitor their output, their physical, how are you doing? And I think we may sub more as deep as we're going to be. We already have as many guys as we had last year, and we're looking to add one, maybe two more if we take like Hawthorne or a developmental piece. We are so deep. Our bottom end hasn't changed at all. We've just added more guys that can play.
Yeah.
But if that means we can better handle fouls and injuries and all the things I named earlier, matchup considerations, that's awesome. If we can keep all these guys fresh and working, that's going to be so fun.
What I like too about the way the roster is constructed is last season, and we all know that each of us loved last season's team. They did. You knew, like, okay, this team can win, but they have to win in this way. And if these things don't happen, we're not going to have a good time. Or if the other team's doing this, then like that spells trouble for us. With the versatility we have here, is we can beat you in multiple ways. Just looking at the type of guys we got, is where like Andrew Carr could sort of get out toughed. I don't think anybody's doing that to Mo, or somebody who looks like they can get to the basket the way that Cam can. We just didn't have that last year. We didn't have a guy, a bucket getter or something like that. And I think they just mean a guy who can just drive to the basket. Our best option last year for that was Lamont, and now we have two or three of those guys. So where it looks like we've taken a step back in shooting, and we probably have with the way the roster looks right now, I think we've gotten better in so many other ways, especially defensively, to where we're not as one-dimensional, or I don't know, two-dimensional as we were last year.
Another thing is offensive rebounds. It felt like the games that we lost, it was always us getting just murdered on offensive rebounds. I feel like we are going to be in a position to shoot more often this year, which is just as good as having, a few more percentage points.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, we had a good shooting team last year. We didn't have a world beater shooting team last year. Like, Kobe was something else.
Yeah.
But
Ainsley.
Yeah, and Ainsley. But it's like Cam and JJ could replace that. And Colin had like this stretch at the end of last year where he was Kobe Brea as far as shooting. So I think we do have some people, but I also like that we don't have anybody that you can just give space to, because even like JQ could shoot 8% from three, but if you give him space, he's going to do some Sports Center top 10 shit on you, like teleport himself to the basket. So it's the spacing is still good, I think. where it's going to look a little bit different, I would imagine, but it's also probably a lot less like cerebral defense when you have like 8 more feet worth of arms on the defensive side, because that's what it feels like at this point. I guess on length.
I think the change in length is something that we haven't really mentioned a ton, but especially at guard last year. I mean, point guard we had 6'1", 2. Let's see.
I felt like last year was very dependent on Jackson and Kobe being in at the same time and then being able to play off each other, because you could really only focus in on one. So you take away one, if the other guy's hot, you're screwed. As soon as Jackson goes out, we became much easier to beat. Also, we didn't, and I liked Amari. I don't know if he was the best rim protector, but I think trying to go in on Jaden might prove to be more difficult than
For sure.
Amari.
Yeah, year 2 BG, but then like even with Jaden, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. He might be ready, and then we just look like preseason world beaters from the jump.
Yep.
If not, you play smaller teams in like the first couple months of the season, which is nice because you have like Yelovich, who can play as the 5 if you're playing Wilmington or something. So we have a little bit more versatility to still like keep our momentum going at least, and not completely change the way that we play halfway through the season.
I
But
was really happy with the Yelovich ad
Mhm.
just because so many times last year, not for a ton of minutes, but Amari would be in foul trouble, BG would be in foul trouble, and before we added him, especially given that seems like we intend to play Mo at the 4, we just didn't have a ton of height we could slide over if JQ and BG got in foul trouble, or Malachi, who is kind of an unknown as to what he'll be able to do. But to then I have now a 6'10" guy, and 5's probably not his natural position, but Carr slid over pretty well when we needed him to, and so just to have another piece that is big enough to be in there, I think it's significant. Yeah, Andrew Carr, bigger, stronger, more athletic. Although I think Andrew Carr is sort of underrated. I know he was injured for much of this season, but his analytics were awesome. Like
yeah,
Caleb
he
said
did a
earlier
lot of the averaging
guys
stuff.
that, yeah, right. And similarly, when you talk about, even if his individual defensive numbers don't jump off the page, the team plays better defense with him on the court. That's
Mhm.
Andrew Carr, both offensively and defensively.
Right.
Every single Torvik and Evan Mia and Hoop Explorer all love Andrew Carr, even though some of our fans are down on him, because the team played better when he was on the court.
Right.
And I think that's what some of these guys can add to.
You allow me to cut in here for just a second. There's 124 people watching us live right now. It's very cool because every time I think we go live, we're going to have like 5 or 6 people watching us. As I say that, people drop off the stream. Very cool. But if you could like and subscribe to the stream, we are just guys who are doing this for fun. Everything that's happened since we started this has been quite unexpected. We even recently got monetized on this channel, which is a big mistake for YouTube, but we will capitalize on it. So thank you so much. But please like and subscribe to the stream and make these sweet boys' dreams come true.
And if you have questions too, put them in the chat. It's fun to see what you guys are thinking, and gives us some ideas of things to discuss.
Even personal questions, you know what I mean? Ask Ben his social security number, he'll tell you.
David, yes. Cam, I think Cam is like getting punished a little bit for being such an assignment understander that he immediately just was like, yes, pay me. I'll give you $100 or whatever. Just, yeah, I'm in. It's like he knew from the get go. But if you go watch him, he's a big freaking dude with crazy athleticism. Like for a while before we got Jelly, I was like, he might have to like play some four because we needed some height. Now it feels like it's crazy how a couple weeks have changed the idea of the team from like, oh, what are we gonna do if JQ still hurt? We don't have any height. To now it's like, well, we have a lot of length and height. We're a pretty big team next year. It's gonna be nice. It's a luxury. But yeah, Cam in his shot, what was he? 39% from three last year, or something like that.
Yeah,
Pretty high volume.
on decent volume. I was kind of expecting it to be like a Modi situation where number was really, really high, volume was low, but it wasn't. I mean, he took a bunch of threes and they went in.
Yeah.
And
The
they look
girth-
good. I mean, his shot's nice looking.
How's the girth looking? I think his girth's looking better than Hawthorne's.
Yeah. Though I do really like the idea of having Hawthorne contribute, especially in the early season, and then also be there because injuries happen.
I want
But-
dudes who look like straight up aliens.
Yeah, he
Well, he
He-
does. I mean, he and his movement is shocking. Like if you watch some film on him, he cooked Devonsa in one of the clips. And looking at the stats, Devonsa very much got his own that game. It's not like he absolutely shut him down or torched him all game. Even if he had 20 something points, Devonsa had like 30. But he looks good. And kid went to Huntington Prep. It's not like some of the criticism for smaller guys is, well, you didn't play anyone really. Well, I don't think Huntington Prep lived up to like their usual expectations, but they played good teams. They played RWE from OTE that Jasper and TK played on. Just that league that they're in gives them a bunch of real competition. He looked competitive in it. I think he's super underrated. Would be awesome if he was an assignment understander. But if not, I get it too. I mean, I think Virginia Tech was ass, but if he is willing to deal with that, to have a significant role, I mean, that's a scary situation too. Props to him for taking that on. But man, it'd be fun for him to come be on our team, probably for a couple years.
Yeah.
I can't imagine he gets the minutes he would need to.
I'm thinking 2026, and then also another nice thing about Rylan Griffin and Aberdeen both is they are seniors, which doesn't rock the boat this summer for the TK recruitment, right? I think.
What are you flexing, bro? You know.
I think that we could keep the high school pipeline open a little bit, probably more so than we did this year, because it was still a little bit unknown. What's the transition period look like from year to year? Garth, but yeah, I want to see us be able to go to Peach Jam and then kind of be in on a bunch of dudes too, kind of like we are in the portal.
Well, and that was really Pope's approach to the freshman recruiting this year too. It's let's see how many we were in on at some point. I have a spreadsheet, and it was huge. I mean, it looked like, and certainly not all these guys got offers, but we had enough contact that I thought it was worth noting for 36 different guys in 2025. Ultimately we have 2. And that's a ton of effort. But again, it's sort of like, hey, if you want to come be here, then be here. He looks like we've offered so far 11 guys that maybe added 1 or 2 since then in the class of 2026. I already have 32 people that I've added on my list for 2026. And if you look at our team makeup right now, always the only senior. So 11 out of 12 are potential returners. And that's assuming JQ doesn't go pro or low or no one else has a good year, no one else transfers out. So I don't think we actually get 11 back. But we have 32 guys for potentially 2 spots. Like
Yeah.
that's such a fun approach. Really lets you find the best pieces, I think. And that sort of goes back to what someone mentioned a little bit ago. Don't want to scroll up in chat to see who it was, but where they said Bill Self was really good at picking a couple portal pieces, but not so good at constructing an entire roster out of the portal. I sort of thought the same with Cal. I mean, when he snagged Antonio Reeves, that was a piece we needed. That was an awesome fit.
Awesome.
And even before then, before Portal Madness, when we had Reed Travis and Nate Sestina coming in such a different basketball landscape, those were awesome pieces that filled out an otherwise complete roster. Or so we thought. But building your team this way is just so different, and I think that's a place where Pope can really capitalize, whereas some of these other older coaches are kind of struggling.
Back
So
to the chat here. Joe says, got to get Tay Kenny. Completely agree with that. I'd love to have him on the team. I think that kid's a star. That kid's awesome. Peanut Butter Posse. Oh, sorry.
I think that kind of goes back to how we utilize and how we showcase Jasper, especially early on. Because it's like if we can keep it where we have like, there's going to be an open point guard spot over the summer because we have a senior transfer or whatever. And then Jasper, which by the way, that dunk that he had where he tracked that like full court pass off the bounce was so NFL wide receiver that it blew my mind. I watched that thing like 15 times. But if we showcase, especially in the early, like, that early portion of our schedule, which should be pretty easy. Other than we do have some hardcore non-con, like I think we have 5 pretty big games, like Michigan State, Indiana, Louisville, St. John's.
Is St. John's happening? I don't remember if it was or not. Gonzaga, Indiana, Michigan State, Louisville, UCLA, ACC, SEC Challenge is what I have.
So I don't know. Yeah. But that's a pretty good slate of games there in the early season. It's just you can, especially next year when there's not going to be all these 30-year-olds in college ball again. Not as many 30-year-olds in college ball again. I think that the freshmen might get a little bit more screen time, especially early on with AJD and
for sure
the Boozers and Peterson. I think there's going to be a little bit of freshman frenzy early on with college ball, and if we can have a piece of that, it would be pretty good.
Also, I'm waiting for the where it teeters back to where these freshmen are going to start committing way earlier, because the longer you wait, the more you're going to start eating into this money. That's where there's going to start looking towards the transfer portal now. So
yeah,
I think
Nate Ament going to Tennessee.
Good luck.
I kind of wonder how this year's portal in particular is going to affect these guys. Like, think about our Caden Lewis decommit and Darius Adams just decommitted from UConn. Maybe they have the right approach versus like Ament. Ament was all the rage for months, and it just drug on, and people got kind of bored of it, and they waited until the portal opened, and all of a sudden you've got Duke, who's like trying to fill that role with not a freshman, and Louisville, who's trying to fill that role with not a freshman, and us, who's trying to fill that role with not a freshman. And not to say that Tennessee was like his only option left, but very quickly, coach's priorities were elsewhere, and his priorities changed. Caden and Darius Adams both at least got the opportunity to like lock in with their first school, their first choice school, commit, and then sort of see how things change before decommitting. So maybe that's good. I don't know what kind of money we were offering a Caden. I don't know what he's going to end up getting, but I think maybe that approach is better. It sucks for the schools and that you've planned on this guy your fans have watched him all year and are getting excited about him. But I think in terms of like doing what's best for you as a freshman player, maybe that's it. Like pick your school, decommit later if you need to reevaluate.
Yeah, because to me it seems like Nate Ament went from being a $3.5 to $4 million guy to going to Rick Barnes, who I don't think greenlit a $3.5 to $4 million
Doubt it.
NIL package for him. So, I
also
feel
wonder.
like he maybe effed around and then effed out.
I do wonder if the market correction turns into these higher rated freshmen start going to smaller schools, and then almost it turns into a minor league, major league situation where the big players start operating in the transfer portal and let the smaller school take the chances on. I'm not saying the really top end talent,
Sure,
but anywhere from your 40s to the hundreds, you could start seeing more of them go to your mid majors or not the big basketball schools.
Yeah, go for a role that you can showcase yourself.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's I could see it heading there very easily. I think everybody wins in that scenario.
couple questions from Peanut Butter Posse I think I can answer.
Yeah.
First is, are we filling out all 15 scholarships, or will a couple guys be redshirting? I don't know if we fill out 15. Assuming this House settlement gets passed, right now the situation is you can have 13 scholarships, but there isn't a roster limit. You can have as many walk-ons as you want or are willing to take that role. Under the House settlement, that switches to 15, but it's a hard cutoff at 15. Your walk-ons count against your 15. They could all be scholarship if you want. So I'm sure we fill out all 15, but I don't know if they're all. I mean, I feel like if we add one more big piece, that's 13, assuming OA is back, and then if Hawthorne comes, that'd be 14. But then we'd maybe keep one like walk-on there too. Other walk-ons either leaving or promoted to manager, I don't know. But if you have a guy redshirting, they still count against your scholarship cap. Like that's the deal. Like so Louisville had the 2 all-season redshirts this year. That counted against Louisville's scholarship cap. Also, Peanut Butter Posse heard rev share split evenly amongst the scholarship players. Is that enough to matter to recruits? I don't think that's true. Unless something changed. I know that on Monday the parties in that case briefed the judge again, but I don't think they really changed anything in their proposed settlement. I think they just sort of explained things to try and help with some of her concerns. And the expectation is that sometime soon that will get approved. I don't think they're going to have another hearing. I think we're just waiting on the judge to do it. But I don't think it is split evenly. I think it's up to the schools how they want to allocate that. It's also up to the schools how they want to allocate that $20 million across their sports. So if you assume basketball gets like $3-ish million, it's up to the school how they want to split that up.
I just realized, Ben, we absolutely need to do a video where you just explain what the new House settlement is.
Yeah, we can do it. It'll be so dry, but we can do that whenever it gets approved.
Because the rest of us are woefully unprepared to take on those sorts of questions, and you're the guy with the answers on those. I feel like we're not the only ones who are very confused by what all that means.
A lot is changing. Assuming it gets approved, and there's a ton of questions still. Like I feel like I understand what's happening pretty well, but also as final as it feels, approval, whatever, that sounds like it's done. I think there's going to be more litigation. I don't think the answer is quite solved with the legal issues. Certainly not without Congress getting involved. I don't know how quickly Congress is going to be able to act to get involved in the way that they need to make this thing kind of a Loctite system.
Yeah, I think
I have a question when it comes to that, and they say that with these new rulings, you wouldn't be able to just give the player money. It would have to be, I guess, would they have to actually work with the brands, and it would be fair market value, right?
Yes. So that's the big thing. idea anyway is that you give these schools, or you don't give them, the schools have to come up with 20 million, up to $20 million, however much or however little they want to spend of that, to build out their rosters across all their sports. This can be straight pay for play. It can be, I give you Braden Hawthorne $500,000 to come be on our team to play basketball. Currently, the situation with NIL is it can't be pay for play, but there's also nothing restricting you from paying grossly disproportionate rates to these players for what they're doing. It's not allowed to
BYU.
be an inducement. It's not allowed to be an inducement for a commitment, but it super is, and there's no
Right.
real way to stop that. So, under the new system that's proposed, you have this $20 million you can use as pay for play, but for football schools, that's not enough. I mean, football rosters alone probably cost somewhere near there. I mean, we're talking about 85 guys, all of whom need to be paid something. And we know basketball rosters are, the top schools are 10 million plus this year. So 20 million isn't going to cut it. So you need something else. So they're not getting rid of NIL. NIL still going to exist, but they really want to focus on it not just being a circumvention on the not pay for play part. They want to make it be deals at fair market value for the endorsement that the players are doing. They want to make it be, and I think that benefits us to some extent. It hurts in that we can't just have the crafts dump a ton of money on these guys. But I assume that money's still going to be there. There's a market for it. People want to pay players. There's got to be a way to make that happen. I just don't know what it is yet. But
Also, our players get a lot more TV eyes.
You're right. Yeah, I was going to say. I mean, think about the Paul Miller Ford, the Clark's Pump and Shop.
Morgan.
We have real brands that are local in Lexington that are going to pay more than any other fan base, right? I mean, think about what an endorsement from a basketball player is worth in Lexington versus elsewhere. Think about how much more people around the state care about Travis Perry and Trent Noah. Honestly, I mean, think about if everything has to be done on a fair market value basis, and it's not clear yet how that's going to be done. Every deal over $600 is going to be submitted to a clearinghouse at Deloitte and reviewed to confirm that it meets that. And $600 is a laughably low standard. Like every deal is going to have to go through this thing. It's going to be
I
a
also
mess.
think the first time it gets denied, it's going to end up
There's going to be a lawsuit,
and it's going to fail. Like,
So does it enter some sort of like arbitration thing to figure out what the fair market value is? Is that on a national scale, or is that dependent on the localities of the university?
So the way it's written is that I don't know if it's clear about the locality, but the way that it's written is that they're allowed to be paid as much as someone of a similar stature or similar NIL value, which seems kind of self-referential and like a useless definition, who isn't an athlete. And it's like, well, what does that mean? What is a similar NIL value? How do you even get to that? So I truly think it is going to be a bit of a mess, especially this first year. I think that's one of the reasons schools have been so interested in trying to get their deal signed before the settlement is passed, and they're going to try and get their deals paid out before July 1st when this all takes place. Because anything done before those deadlines, signed before the settlement is approved and paid before July 1st, gets to follow the old rules, the current rules where that money's a lot less restricted. I think schools are really, really anxious to get that done so that they don't have to immediately try and make sure that their deals for this upcoming year fit into this new standard that's going to be weird, hard to enforce, new, don't want to risk not being able to pay your players. Like it.
Yeah.
I
Now,
really
There's
get the
one
rush.
player.
This $20 million pot, is that to be shared across all the athletic department?
Yeah. So
Oh,
I mean, if
screw
you,
that.
yeah, right, it's woefully inadequate. Like there's no way at current market rates, $20 million is going to cover us. And to make it even worse, all of the big schools are going to be adding new scholarships. Like we said, the scholarship limit for basketball is supposed to go from 13 to 15. Well, it does that in all these sports. Like one of their big pitches is that we're actually creating more opportunity here by giving more scholarships. And so track gets a ton more scholarships. Baseball currently has like 12 and a half scholarships, which can be partial for a 30-person roster or something. Well, that's going to go up to 30 scholarships in baseball. And so you're adding these new scholarships across all your sports. But one thing that people don't understand is that the first $2.5 million of new scholarships you add count against that rev share cap. So all of a sudden, your $20.5 million to spend is now 18. And so if you were going to spend X percent on basketball, you're spending X percent of 18, not 20 and a half. So really what's going to happen is you get probably $3 million in basketball, which pays for what, half of a AJ DeBonsa, pays for one Otega Owe. I mean, it's just not, it's not going to work. You need more money. You need these local deals, or the payers are going to start getting paid a lot less. And I just don't think that's realistic.
Or we just start cheating again.
Yeah, well, yeah, and that's the alternative. If you don't make it to where schools can pay for the players, we go back to lunch sacks full of money.
Worldwide West,
Eagle staff just committed to West Virginia. Interesting.
Oh, good for him.
I think that's expected. I'm happy with that.
I know it's a bit on the show, but he was not a take.
Yeah.
Not a take.
And I think he would have been fine. I think honestly, it's funny. He wasn't even on my list. I'd sort of written him off to West Virginia already. I think he would have been able to play the one for us a little bit. But I also, whereas I said I think Cam Williams is not super worried about the translation up because the American's a good conference. I don't feel that way about the Horizon League, and maybe, but that's a risk.
I feel like
we're
you would
already
be targeted.
hoping that these other things work out in our favor. That's just another hope that you have to have.
Yeah, I feel like he would have been easy to target.
I feel like I could have spun him coming as a positive, but I'm glad I don't have to.
Dude, I can talk myself into anything, absolutely. Yeah. But he was one I didn't want to. And he's good. It's not like I don't think he can compete. Dropped 40 on Bama, dropped 51 in a super critical their opening game of their conference tournament, and then dropped 6 with 7 turnovers in their semifinals of their conference tournament. That was an elimination game for their season. So, good games, bad games.
I mean, that's what we're dealing with Lowe, right? Where it's good player on a bad team.
Right. Although I think Lowe was significantly better consistently than Eagle staff was.
Yes, and
I think the team was consistently bad, but he consistently, he was like a 17 point per game guy. Walk-on, do walk-ons only get what the athletic department decides, or do they get nothing? Well, they don't. Well, I'm curious to see what Pope does. I mean, so say we take, I assume we're going to take at least 13. Right now, this year we had 12 and 3 walk-ons. I assume we take at least 13, maybe 14 guys. So we're going to lose.
Is this the loyal BBN fans show? Is this that? I know this show. Crossover stream. Loyal BBN fans show. Love that guy.
So it'll be interesting to see what we end up doing with the scholarships. I mean, if you can offer your 15th guy a scholarship now, there's no reason not to. But also, I mean, if it's a scholarship plus a rev share, which they probably don't get a ton of, fortunately, like I said, Travis Perry, Trent Noah get good local deals that they wouldn't get given their role anywhere else. Also, hey, Mike.
Yeah. Love Mike. It shook me a little bit seeing him pop up there. I'm a little out of sorts right now. That was cool.
Yes. Happy Easter.
Yeah, I hope everybody had a good Easter. Hit some eggs.
Oh, you muted, bud. Uh-oh. There we go. He's still muted.
What?
Ben, did you see the joke that I said earlier today about Easter candy?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Full chocolate bunny's too much. Just give me the ears.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Can you
the
hear
ears
me
and
now?
the tail.
There you go. You're back.
All right. That's weird. I don't know why it keeps doing that.
No, I'm not eating the tail, Ben. It's a family show. Come on. Caleb, what did you guys do for Easter?
Hit eggs. And I
Same.
ate pizza. But
Nice.
I live
think
far
we
away
had the
from
same
family, so it's not. Didn't get to do the Easter ham and all that stuff.
1 second. I'll be right back. I'm going to show you guys something.
Does anyone else have questions for us in the chat? We can. What the Easter Bunny bring to me? Well, I don't have kids, so my Easter is relatively uneventful. Mike, I'll say when we were first thinking about starting the catechin, I was talking to Jared after watching one of your streams and thought this is really cool. I mean, it's just guys talking about sports, and so I was really happy that we started doing this where we had chat because it's so much nicer to have people to interact with while we're doing it.
The wife made homemade donuts for Easter.
Oh man, big day.
Pretty sweet.
Who glazed them?
Was that? Who was? The wife did. Did it all. The yeast donuts too. None of that. Those cake donuts. I'm a
Yeah,
a
dude.
cake.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
Dude,
hard
I-
agree.
I don't. If I go to like the office or whatever and I grab a donut thinking it's a real donut and it's a cake donut, which is like, it's like eating like a brick. It's disgusting.
Yeah, Braden's not here, so we can talk about him. He likes those small packaged I forget what the brand is, but like in the plastic where it has like the coconut on the outside or like the powdered ones.
I like the powdered ones.
They're
Oh
too,
man,
they're too
not
dry for me,
not
too
my
dense.
favorite. Yeah,
Oh,
I need
yeah.
like a gallon of milk with them.
They're so dry. They're so dry. Yeah, I feel like that could be a torture mechanism. Just.
Lando, check your DMs.
Where has the Caden gone? I don't know. I saw he was on a St. John's official visit. I think someone said maybe visiting Georgia even.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm curious to see where he ends up. I really was excited for him. Not just next year, this year as well. I think he could contribute. I think he looked really good in the Jordan Brand Classic, which was nice because he's been excluded from some of the other kind of high school all-star games. I think it was unbelievable what the defense gave him. I mean, probably back to back possessions. They left Caleb Wilson unguarded, nobody within 15 feet of him under the basket, and Caden just racked up assists. But he looked good. So I'm excited to watch him wherever he ends up. I think he left mostly because it sounded like the plan initially was to bring in a senior transfer guard. And I don't think he thought he was starting. Maybe he had a chance to compete for it. But then like Dent fell through, probably a couple other guys we were looking at. And so you end up with Lowe, who has another year of eligibility. And then all of a sudden, if he doesn't go pro, now Caden has to compete for starter year 2 as well. I don't know. People were talking shit to him and his dad online. I think that's ridiculous. His dad had a good point that we don't know the school's perspective at all. And then the role they played in this could be totally mutual. And we wanted to bring in more guys ready to go now. I don't know, but really will be interested to see where he ends up and happy to watch him.
Georgia, it just feels like he would go to Georgia because Georgia just seems like they do take a big swing on some of these more random freshmen. Really, seems like they probably do have like a bit of money and they would have no problem dropping a bag for an Caden Lewis and then just see where he transfers to next year.
When I just pulled up Georgia's depth chart and it looks like they have 0 point guards. So maybe so.
Well, I have to go to bed, boys.
Yeah, I got WrestleMania, so It's been real. I'm sure we'll talk next after we're booming midweek.
Yeah.
Maybe tomorrow. Who knows? You know?
Probably.
All right, fellas.
I'm saying
Everybody?
give me Aberdeen at this point. Give me Aberdeen and a surprise from Hawthorne, and I'll be a happy camper.
Yeah,
That's good
that would be my ideal as well.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining the Catechin. For Ben, for Caleb, I'm Jared. Go Cats.
Go Cats.